Welcome once again to Against the Spread Now Wildcard Weekend Playoff Edition. Gilo, we made it. I wasn't sure we were going to, not us literally, but the NFL. But we got to the playoffs. We got all the games in somehow, although COVID still is somewhat making an impact. And maybe we should start right there with the last game of the weekend. The Browns go to the Steelers in AFC North rematch. The Steelers are favored by 6. That line started at 3.5. Why did it move? Because the Browns will be without probably their best offensive lineman, their coach, their offensive play caller. Their team has been ravaged due to COVID-19. How does that impact the way you see this game?
Well, I mean, it's definitely an impactful outcome on the game, obviously. I mean, your play caller, the guy who's changed around the culture in the team, that's going to make a difference. It's hard to deny that. But and it's specifically tough for the Browns because just when things start going their way, they get hit with this. It's really, really brutal for the Browns. From my point of view, it actually makes it an easier pick because I was going to go with the Browns anyway. I'm still going to go with the Browns. I think these teams, because they're rivals, they know each other, and how this game works to me is that it's a strength versus strength and a weakness versus a weakness. Cleveland's run game against Steelers defense, Cleveland's defense, which is a weakness for them against a Pittsburgh slumping offense. I just see those units matching up and add to the fact that they're division rivals. This screams to me a 3-point game in probably what will be the sloppiest game of the weekend. But I'm going to go with the Browns. And honestly, like I said before, the change in the spread made it easier for me to pick.
Wow, interesting. So the change in who's available made it easier for me to go with the over-under. And right now that line is at 47.5, and I'm going to go under. I think a big reason is because Kevin Stefanski will not be calling plays for the Browns in that offense. And you can get another, offensive lineman. You could do some things, block things up differently, give him some help that maybe won't impact you as much. But changing who's calling plays, the cadence, the adjustments that are made, the communication from the sideline on field, the in-game adjustments, and the preparation throughout the week, that's a lot. And to do that, to start a playoff game when you don't have a lot of time for error and a lot of margin there, I think is a big disruption. So I think this is going to be really low scoring. But I'm actually surprised that you went Browns, and this is good. We're not chalk, because I'm going to go Steelers because it's not just the fact that Stefanski won't be there, but I think that's really big and being underplayed. He's had 11 wins this year. 7 previous Browns coaches combined did not get to 11 wins. So that shows you his value in 1 year, or just how bad the Browns have been. But I think Olivier Vernon, his loss with the Achilles tear, obviously he's done for the year. It impacts, that defense even more so. And so I do think that Pittsburgh being able to rest their offensive starters and now playing against a defense that is a little bit weaker will have more success than normal. And the fact that the Browns haven't really been able to practice for 3 weeks because of COVID, and the fact that their building has been a place they had to stay away from. And they've had 17 players over the last 2 weeks at some point on the COVID injured list. It's just too much disruption when you need to be playing your best football and having everyone on the same page. So I feel bad for Browns fans. They waited so long, and now something that's kind of out of their hands is disrupting their chances. But all of that, when what I thought was going to be a close game anyways, I'm staying away, and I'm picking Pittsburgh.
I think, I mean, the odds are obviously stacked against them. You mentioned it all there, but I think this has a lot to do with the Steelers too, right? They haven't been themselves. They haven't been the team that won 11 straight games. They have their own issues, especially on offense. And I'm not sure that last week sitting Ben Roethlisberger is going to solve all that. So I think if it's a low-scoring game, I think it has a way better chance of being within the 6 points. So I agree, take the under, but I like the Browns.
Okay, well, let's see who you like in the 4:40 p.m. Eastern matchup on Sunday. The Bears go to the Saints. The Saints are favored by 10 points in the playoffs. At home, this line started at 9.5. The over-under currently sits at 47. How do you read this one?
I think after a 3-game winning streak got them back in the playoff conversation and eventually into the playoffs, all against lesser opposition, we finally got to see who the Bears really are when they took on the Packers last week. And that's a team that will play good defense enough to keep them in a game, but eventually they'll succumb to better opponents because the offense just isn't good enough. And that's obviously not the case for New Orleans. This is a team that not only is good on offense, they might even be better on defense. And so we're seeing a complete team with the Saints. They might get Michael Thomas back. Alvin Kamara, obviously still a question mark, but that didn't make a difference last week. And so I initially mulled this game. I thought the spread was a bit too big. I think the problems on offense that the Bears have are just going to be too much to overcome against a team as complete on both sides of the ball as the Saints. So I'm going to take the Saints and the 10-point spread.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Bears. And I'm thinking back to week 8, which was a long, long time ago, but the Bears took the Saints to overtime, and that was with Nick Foles at the QB, and Trubisky has been much better of late. Now, obviously, to end the season notwithstanding, but before that, they rolled off 4 games in a row with 30-plus points against bad opposition, no question. That's the first time they've done that since 1965. So for those reasons, I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think the Saints, certainly with Thomas back, will put up points. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I will take the over. But I think Chicago will be able to score enough to keep the deficit within less than 10. And so I'm going to take the Bears in this one. But I certainly, if you're talking about, some of the confidence pools that come out during playoff time, I think I'm giving, New Orleans, a 13, a 12, an 11 rating. I think they can make a real long run and are going to win this week. But I don't think they're going to blow the doors off the Bears that badly.
I like the over because I think the Bears are the Saints are gonna do just that. I think they could score 35 points and it could be 10, and you're almost there. So I think the Saints blow this one up, and the over is still a good bet though.
Well, I love the over in this next matchup. 1:05 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Baltimore goes to Tennessee, a rematch from the playoffs last year. The line in terms of over-under is 55. The line in terms of the game is -3 for the road Ravens. Who do you like in this revenge matchup?
I think I definitely like the over too. And the more that I think about it, the more I think I'm just dreaming about this game. I feel like this could be the game of the weekend, and I love the idea of these teams each putting up 40 points. And they've shown that they could do that over the last few weeks. These teams have been high scoring. The Ravens are one of the best teams in football right now. They come into the playoffs winning 5 straight, all of which were basically lopsided blowouts, except for that win over the Browns on Monday night. Last week, they ran for 400 yards. This team is hitting their stride at the exact right time, and they've got the revenge factor working for them. Not only did they lose that playoff game shockingly last year as the Titans went on a run, they also blew a 21-10 lead against these Titans just this year and lost in overtime. The Titans, on the flip side, can score a bunch of points. We've seen Derrick Henry is a beast. Ryan Tannehill has 40 total touchdowns, but the defense is a problem. They give up a lot of yards. They give up a lot of points, and that is going to be the difference in the game for me. I think the Ravens, because they have a better defense, can get some stops. They'll be able to score the points that they've scored over the last few weeks because of the Titans defense. And I like them to get that revenge and cover on the road.
Yeah, these two teams are pretty close. I love the fact it's rematch, 11-5, but they're coming to the playoffs entirely differently. Tennessee, in a win and get in situation, didn't look great last week, where the Ravens have looked good. And you mentioned those last 5 games, that win streak. They put up 37 points per in that span. So again, they're taking you more than halfway to the over on their own in the last little bit. And Tennessee defensively, 30th in pass defense. The real question with the Ravens is, can they make plays through the air, where everybody is making plays through the air against Tennessee. And we obviously know the Ravens are going to be able to get off the bus running the ball. And in the last 5 games, they've averaged 267 on the ground. And so if you can control clock, certainly both teams can do it in this game. But the Ravens having the ability to show some signs in the passing game of late, and having Tennessee, who has been, somewhat of a turnstile through the air. I like the Ravens in this a lot. Don't feel great about a road dog, or a road favorite in the playoffs. But in this specific situation, given the way the two teams are playing, I like the Ravens in this one.
And this is
but I like the over even more.
Yeah, oh, for sure. This is a different kind of year too when it comes to road favorites in the playoffs. There are no fans. It's not as big of a game changer as it has been in years past. So I think that plays in the favor of a lot of these road teams, especially on Wildcard Weekend.
Well, let's see, if a road favorite plays a factor in this next one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to the football team that plays in Washington, and they being the Bucs, 8.5-point favorites in this game, and the line currently is 45. Chase Young wanted Tom Brady. He's going to get Tom Brady. The question really is he going to be able to get home to Tom Brady? Because that really will decide how this football game goes. What do you like in this one?
This is the game that I struggled with the most because recency bias when it comes to the Buccaneers would tell us that they should roll in this game, right? They're winners of 4 straight. They put up 40 points in back-to-back games. And Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, it looks like Mike Evans is going to be in this game too. They look really dangerous over the last month of the season. But those 4 wins, like the Bears in their winning streak leading into the end of the season, has come against pretty bad defenses. And that's the difference with Washington, is this Washington defense is a top 5 unit, maybe even a top 3 defense in the NFL right now. According to DVOA, Football Outsiders DVOA, they are a top 3 defense. And this season, when the Bucs have come against defenses that rank in the top 10 of DVOA's or Football Outsiders DVOA rankings, they've lost every game. Now, I'm not saying they're going to lose this game, but I do think Washington's defense is going to be able to keep it within 8.5 points and cover at home.
I agree. And again, this is a game where if you're playing in one of those confidence pools or you're setting up your bracket, should you take Tampa Bay to go a long way? Yeah. But will this game be closer than you expect when you look at one team with a 9 record and one team with 11-5 record? I think so. And the whole time, as I've been looking at the playoff seedings for the last couple of weeks, I was like, Tampa Bay is in a real good spot. They may not win the division, but they're probably better off because they're probably going to face the NFC East in the first round. Except styles make fights. And the front 4 of Washington is the exact kryptonite, not just for the Bucs, but specifically for Tom Brady. When you look at his QBR this season, it's 84 when he's not pressured. It's 6 when he is pressured. And you look at the ability for Washington's front 4 to get pressure. Their pass rush win rate is 50%. Half of the time they're getting home, which is the 3rd best in the league. And sacks per dropback, 7.8, 4th in the league. All this team really can do consistently is get pressure. And the guys calling the game for them defensively, Jack Del Rio, he's predicated his defenses all the time of being able to get pressure. So I think this is I think it's terrible that Chase Young called out Tom Brady, because we might be replaying that. That might become like, almost a social media meme. But I think this is a terrible matchup, honestly, for Tom Brady. And if there's going to be some Hollywood script for Alex Smith, wouldn't it be him getting this first round playoff upset against the GOAT in Tom Brady, and against someone who, maybe not as nice a person in Antonio Brown? So when you look at the Bucs, 1-3 when they give up 3+ sacks, I don't think they're going to lose. I don't think that's going to be 1-4, but I do think that it's going to be closer than 8.5. So I too am going to take. Can't believe this. I too am going to take the Washington football team.
A sweep for the football team.
Yeah, I mean, like if your football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, cared more about playing up the season. The Washington football team might not be this game, but
the Eagles are
I think they're going to cover. Yes, let's move on, shall we? Let's move on. Let's move on to two teams who are in the playoffs, coming out of one of the toughest divisions, I think fair to say, in football in the NFC West, but who of late have been playing some NFC East-ish type of football. And that would be the matchup 4:40 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. The Rams going to the Seahawks, where Seattle at home is favored by 4. The over-under in this one is 42.5. Now, qualifier, this line came out as 5. It's now -4. It could change if we get some news about Jared Goff. He had surgery, a couple weeks ago to put the pin in his broken thumb. For me, actually, I don't think it should change whether or not Jared Goff is healthy. And in fact, I might have more faith in the Rams if he's not. But never mind that. How do you read this, given the uncertainty on who's going to be available for Los Angeles?
To me, it doesn't really make a difference who's going to start at quarterback here. I would pick the Rams either way. I think, like you talked about, these division games in the NFC West have been unpredictable at best, and they end up, being a lot closer than maybe they look like they should on paper. I mean, anytime the 49ers played any of the other NFC West teams, it was wildly unpredictable this year. So I think that applies to this game as well. And Sean McVay in his career has fared well against the Seahawks. If he's not beating them, he's at least keeping the game close. And I think that defense of the Rams matches up really well against the Seahawks offense that frankly hasn't been very good over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Outside of that beatdown on the Jets a few weeks ago, Seattle is averaging less than 20 points per game in December. So we're getting a game here where it's defense against a really good defense against an offense that's struggling to put it together. I think this game is going to be decided within 3 points, and so that's why I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle, and I'm actually going to take the under for all of the reasons that you mentioned. And I think the best unit in this game is the Rams defense. I just don't know if they're going to get any help from their offense, especially when you look at Cooper Kupp. Not sure if he is eventually available, how good he's going to be, because again, he was out due to the COVID protocol. And so no matter if he's able to play or not, he's not going to be able to practice all week. And in that Rams offense, and really that Rams team, has been so up and so down, have looked like world beaters some weeks, and then found a way to lose to the New York Jets. I just don't trust them. Certainly I don't trust them enough with my money. I don't trust them in a one-and-done scenario where Seattle, as unspectacular as they've been at times, they've been a little bit more steady. They're going to be in some football games, and they'll find a way to win some that they don't really play all that well in, but they're going to be around. It's going to be close. And then at the end of the game, they're going to unleash Russell Wilson and ask him to start cooking pretty late, and maybe he'll be able to have some heroics. And so for those reasons, I love the under, but don't love the Seahawks at -4. But I just feel a little bit more confident in them and them showing up than, turning on the TV and it's like, oh, it's this version of the Rams I'm going to have to watch for the next 3 hours. So I'm going to take Seattle on that one. But if I had to stay away from one game this week, this would probably be the one.
Yeah, the NFC West games are they're tough. Anyone can win any day.
So old AFC matchup, two really proud franchises. The Indianapolis Colts go to Buffalo. The Bills favored at home by 6.5. The over-under currently sits at 51, opened at 52. Who do you like in this one?
It's hard to argue that the Bills aren't the hottest team in football right now. I mean, certainly their offense is, right? They've not only smashed franchise records, which says a lot considering what the Bills were able to do in the early 90s, but they're top 2 in the league in scoring and yards. And against an offense like the Bills, opponents can't afford to go long spells of games without scoring points. And that's exactly what the Colts have done the last 2 games coming into this wild card weekend. I like the Colts. I think they're a good team. The defense is good. The offense, they can run the ball at least. But against the Steelers in a game which they blew a big lead. They went 6 straight drives to end the game without scoring. And then against the Jags last week, there was a point in the second half where they went 5 straight drives without scoring. You can't do that against the Bills. The Bills are going to take advantage of that, and they will all of a sudden. I mean, look at Miami. All of a sudden, you find yourself down 21 points. And so that's just not gonna fly in Buffalo, and so that's why I'm going to take the Bills. And it's hard not to take the over here. I mean, we're going heavy on the overs in this game, in these picks, but how do you argue that there's not going to be 50 points in this game with the Bills playing the way that they are?
I agree. And it's because of that offense for the Bills that I agree. And the fact that Indy can't afford really to punt. Because if you punt, you don't know when you're going to get the ball back. The Bills are only the second team ever to have 20 first downs in every game in the regular season. The other one was the 2012 Pats. They've punted the second fewest times this year in the history of the game. Their offense is so good at possessing the football, and they just put up 56 points on what was, coming into the game, the best scoring defense in the league. That's never happened before. No other team that was the best scoring defense in the league had ever had 50 scored on them. So this is an offense that is incredibly hot, that can beat you in a bunch of different ways. So one, I like the over because the Bills might get there again by themselves. And two, I like the Bills in this game. 6.5 doesn't scare me because, a couple of Phillip Rivers bad decisions, a couple 3-and-outs, or just Jonathan Taylor or not, breaking off massive runs to get them out of bad situations. And this game could get out of hand really, really quickly. I'm normally the one who is upsetting Buffalo Bills fans in this segment, but I'm gonna have to be the person who's like driving the bus right now. Bills Mafia and like the 6,000 or so that are going to be in attendance in Buffalo. I think you're going to have a good time. I think you're going to have a lot of points being put up on the scoreboard. This was a good time for us. Hopefully it was a good time for you. Enjoy the games Saturday and Sunday. Wildcard weekend for me is the most fun watching football throughout the year. And now we got 6 games to do it in the first weekend. So enjoy them both and let us know who you're picking, who you got. If you got some bad beats, we apologize. Hopefully it wasn't our fault. But thank you once again for watching.